by Joshua Lebron. Joshua, thanks for joining me on the Sunday Sit Down series. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, bro. Thank you for having me, man.
It's really good to have you here. Have your brother as well, Carlos Lebron. Josh, you just turned pro recently,
Yes, sir.
professional boxing in the bantamweight division. Talk to me about your first fight. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, and you did it during the pandemic of all things.
I could say it was really nerve wracking, like especially like the interview, the weigh in, and just the fight. But like once I knew that, like I put the gloves on, it was just straight tunnel vision after that. The training was hard. I sparred Antonio Vargas. I sparred so many other fighters in bigger weight classes just to get ready for this fight. And I was just training like I was like, oh, I'm fighting for a belt. But it was just it was my pro debut, and I was just like, I'm gonna keep training like this through my whole career. But also I'm gonna have rest in between it. But yeah, man, it was a great experience, bro, for real.
That's awesome, and you actually made your pro debut in your hometown, being Orlando, Florida.
Yeah.
Talk to me, and we'll get back to that later on. Talk to me about where you were born and your childhood.
So I was born in Long Island, New York, and my childhood, my mom has been, a single mother like my whole life and stuff like that. She, raised 3 boys by herself, took care of all of us. And, thank God, I got the opportunity, to turn pro and then, get up there and, give back to my mom and also give back to my family that's also been taking care of me, as well as my coach.
Okay. So Long Island. And then when did you make your way to Florida?
I made my way to Florida when I was, I think, 3 or so. It was like I didn't live in New York that long.
Right.
So then when we moved to Florida, it was just to have like a better lifestyle. And, we were just living good, man. Just like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Just
so I was actually, it's funny you say that. I was born in Brooklyn, New York myself. I don't have the hey, how you doing accent.
Yeah, me neither.
I went to upstate, so I have the nerdy accent, Western New York, which
okay.
people call Canada. So I was probably an hour and a half from Toronto, and whole different world, whole different experience. My mom, me and my brother, I grew up in a single-parent home too, and my brother was 3 years older than me, and we actually went upstate, like I said, and it was a blessing. And ironically, rich history of boxing up there. And I won't give too many shout-outs today, but another Long Island native is Joe Smith Jr., who we've actually had on the Sunday Sit Down series.
Oh, that's what's up,
He's
bro.
fighting next month for the light heavyweight title, the WBO. So, Josh, if you could talk to me about, growing up in Florida, how was that?
It was hard at first, especially like moving to like a whole different state, and like my grandparents was also there, so like only people I knew was is my mom and my brothers, and then just my grandparents. So like that's the only people I knew.
Right.
And then going to school is like it's kind of hard to make friends over there. Just like you gotta restart, and especially like I didn't make friends in New York, but like all I had was my cousins and my family, and then I had a big family. I have a big family in New York. And then moving to Florida is just like it's small. Like your circle becomes small. You can only trust a certain amount of people. And it's just like that's just how it is. Like even just now, like I still have my small circle of friends, but it's just like if I'm in school, it's like I don't talk to nobody. I do my schoolwork, come home, go to the gym, and then the gym is my home. That's it.
Yeah, and talk to me about that. As far as your introduction to boxing, how did that come about?
So it's funny story is like. So I was watching first time I ever watched boxing was my grandfather. So my grandfather always watch the fights, like even though like Cotto to like Manny Pacquiao to like all those fights when I was like 5 years old, and I would just watch it. So I fell in love with it like over time and just watched it with me, my uncle, and my grandfather, and we just watched that every single time, especially Carlos too. He watched that with us. So it just became like I just fell in love with it. And then when I turned 10, I found that there was a gym that was open, which was Fighting Arts Emporium, and JT owned that before Technique. So I was just like I fell in love with it from the jump. As soon as I watched his shows like he had, like the open shows, I was watching it, I was just like, yo, Ma, I gotta start boxing. And she just put me on, and we just like 8 years later, we're here now, and just
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. So you actually met James Taylor when you were 10 years old. That's Coach James Taylor out of Technique Boxing in Claremont, Florida. Shout out to Coach, good friend of mine. And obviously at Team Left Parallel Boxing MMA, we always support Technique Boxing and James Taylor. So as your relationship grew, and I see the videos, I mean, I think he's taught some Throwback Thursdays in there on
Yeah.
Instagram, and seeing you guys when you were super young, you and Carlos training with him. Talk to me about your relationship with James Taylor.
So it's a like a father son relationship. Like it's always like we're really close, and it's like obviously you ever see like your like your like you and your dad, like they argue and stuff like that, you bump heads. It's like that with me and JT. But it's like at the end of the day, when it comes to training and being serious, it's like we're straight to business, but we also have fun at the end of the day. So it's like that's my pops at the end of the day. Like that's a person that I look up to, and that's also a father figure.
That's awesome. Coach James Taylor, like we said, out of Technique Boxing in Clermont, Florida. So as you met Coach, you get into the sport. Talk about the transition from learning the sport to competing in it now. I mean, you went from you're seeing these videos, now you're in a gym.
Yeah.
You're learning how to box, essentially. And then you go to these, amateur tournaments. And this stuff, I would get so nervous. I mean, how old were you when you did your first amateur fight?
My first amateur fight, I was 10. So I started the first time when I started sparring was a month later from like. Yeah, because I kept so I kept on bothering Coach about me sparring, and I was like already a week in, and he's like, man, you're not ready and stuff like that. So I was like, yo, I want to keep sparring, I want to spar. So then he puts me in like a month, like it was a month later, puts me in with a kid that he trains that was 4-0, and now he moved to Great Britain. His name is Ryan. Never forget his name. I sparred him, gave me a bloody nose in sparring, and I busted his lip. And I was just like, I just had the anger. You can already tell, like, you see a little kid with that fire in him, and that was me, and I just went for it. And then JT grabbed me. He said, yo, you just sparred a kid that was 4-0 in amateur. And I was like, what? Just like, I was shocked. But he seen I had that fire in me, and it's just, when I trained for my first amateur fight, I trained hard for it. Like, it was just that I wanted to make sure I was ready for it. And Coach came up to me one day. He didn't even tell me that I was fighting on a specific day. He told my mom, and he said, "Are you ready?" And I said, "Yeah." He just asked me a question if I'm ready. I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "All right." Tells my mom, Joshua has a fight in April or something, like in April on I think April 28th, 2013 or 14.
That's pretty good. You can remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, I fought at 68 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was small. I was really small. I was a skinny kid. But yeah, I was excited. Super excited. I didn't have to worry about weight, just worrying about if I was, stay in shape and just work on my technique, just work what I learned on. And all I did in the fight was 1-2, 1-2. And I just did, and I doubled up my jab. I used my jab the whole fight, and then I used my 2. So, but I won by split decision. And in my second fight, I lost I lost to the same kid I fought in my first fight, but it was by split decision as well. So, and you know how the point system was, like he was slapping with the gloves. So yeah, so like they counted that as points, and I just kept throwing the same thing I was like learning. So yeah, it was funny, but you learn a lot of things in amateur, man.
Definitely. And how were some of those experiences? I know you guys would ride around in a van, like across the United States, and like going to different tournaments.
It was like. It was uncomfortable sometimes, but like you also like you feel like you're making a step up every single time you're going to a different state or you're going to a different tournament. You're exploring new things, and you're learning so many things just about boxing, but then also like you're experiencing new styles, new fighters, people who have bigger records, and it's like even if you're like 10-5, you're experiencing new things every time you fight in the ring. And it's just, that's what I love about it. Like, you don't have to have so many fights to become a good fighter. You just have to train really hard into it.
Definitely. And I know at the amateur circuit, there's politics involved as well. So you could end up facing a guy that fought 25 fights and you're 7 or 8 in. And that's definitely nerve-wracking. Huge step up at times. What was your favorite place you went and fought in the amateurs?
I could say it was definitely in Punta Gorda. That was like the first time I ever won my amateur belt. And crazy thing, I was 3-5 in my amateur record. Yeah, I was 3-5. And my brother already won like his amateur belts a couple of times. And I was just like, I was like, dang, I need to get up. I need to step up. I was like, my record's bad. I was like, I need to step up. I need to fight. So I did everything I could to win that belt. I fought at 101, I think so.
Okay.
So, and I fought one kid that was about the same height as me, but he was big. and it was just it was an all out brawl, won by split decision. Second time I fought, it was for the belt. This one I knew I was like, okay, this is real. Me and JT took it so serious, and we want it bad. Like, I wanted to take that belt home so bad, and I also wanted to get my record up. So we fought, and it was like a taller kid, and JT only told me, he's like, every time he throws a punch, like throw 1-2, you slip, throw your 2. If he comes in, throws his 2, you throw your 3, and that's what I was doing the whole fight. So I'm picking them apart, just slipping, throwing, and just countering the whole fight. His coach is yelling in the other fighter. His coach is yelling in the corner, and I'm just like, I wanted this belt really, really bad, and I won by unanimous decision, got my belt, and I was also 5-5 in my record. So
that confidence grew.
Yeah.
From that tournament, and you said that was in Punta Gorda, Florida.
Yeah, and after that, I won 6 times. Like, back to back every time.
6 in a row.
Yeah, 6 in a row. Like, every time I fought, I won. And then my record, then I got my first loss from after just like from 6 in a row wins. I lost from Xander in the tournament.
Xander Zayas.
Yeah, and this
friend of ours.
This is at 114. That's my boy too. So like every time I come up to him, like we always talked about like old times, especially in the fight. So we knew he was really good, and we fought in his show. It was in Miami. We went all the way to Miami to go fight. I lost. But I took a picture with him, and I as soon as I took the picture with him, I found out, I was like, yo, I got so much respect for this guy, because he trains hard too. And I was like, and it made me want to train even harder. So every time that I fought, I was trying to fight. I was training harder to fight him, to get better and beat him. And then every time I would fight in nationals, I would get beat by him. So I fought Xander twice, and I got beat twice from nationals. So it was just like, he was the only person that would stop me. Yeah.
And JT's told me that, actually, when we've had some conversations about your amateur career, and you learn from it, and that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Not only that, I wouldn't say those are bad losses, by the way.
Yeah.
It's Xander Zayas. Zayas is
that's a beast,
pretty good
man.
fighter, I would say. Shout out to Xander Zayas. He's been on the Sunday Sit Down series. He's been in the OCC studios here in Orlando. Great guy. And we look forward to his future as well in boxing. And, Joshua, as you have now turned pro, growing up in the amateurs, who are some fighters you looked up to?
Manny Pacquiao, definitely. Cotto. I watched a lot of Hector Camacho when I was younger. And when I started boxing, one of the coaches that was in Fighting Arts Emporium, he was helping me train for the fight too. So he said, "Oh, you kind of look like Macho when I was younger," and he was like, because I had like the little rat tail and all that stuff. So he was like, "Oh, you look like Camacho." Yeah. It's just like the rat tail it's supposed to be on the front of your head. So I started laughing about that, and then I would watch his tapes, because he had old tapes of how Macho Camacho would fight. And he's like, "Oh, watch his movement, watch his speed, watch his footwork." So I'd always like not copy, but learn from his style, and I would throw my jab like his, make sure it's stiff, make sure it's like it's on point. And I would watch that every single time and watch how he wrap his hands. Basically like copy.
Emulate. You like to emulate him.
Yeah, exactly.
Your style.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And I just actually watched that documentary. I can never say that word right, by the way. People always get me for that. But, about his story.
Yeah.
And sad story, obviously, but wow, what a great fighter.
Yeah, he was.
Were you able to watch that on Showtime? It just came out. I want to say last month, maybe?
Yeah, I watched it. It was really good.
Yeah, and you just saw the jab. If you watch the fights, and it was almost like a smack.
Yeah.
And it would just keep guys, at a distance, and it was impressive.
Yeah.
But his footwork.
Yeah, it's his footwork and like his power, and his like how his angles he would throw. Like you just have to see it in his career, not when him now, like when he was like later. Yeah.
Towards the end. Yeah.
Yeah, towards the end. I'm saying like like when he was younger, his angles was like sharp. He was really, really sharp. Yeah,
rest in peace, Hector Macho Camacho. Unfortunately, very sad story there at the end in the documentary and what happened.
Yeah.
What a great fighter. What a legendary Puerto Rican fighter. Obviously, I grew up a big Cotto fan. Trinidad, Macho Camacho, all the great fighters. Coming from Puerto Rico, we have to also... You're fighting at bantamweight at 118 pounds.
Yes, yes, sir.
And you're a southpaw.
Yes, sir.
So that's bringing out something a little different to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother also fights as well. Carlos Lebron, we'll talk to him as well. Talk to me about your relationship with your family as well as your 2 younger brothers.
It's very close. Like we're all goofy together. We all like have this like the same personality, but we're different at the same time. So it's just like me and my brother, we bump heads, but like we're also really really close together. Like it's just, especially in the ring, especially when we're fighting, especially when like we're both training together, and even with me and my little brother like Javen. We're really close, but it's like I goof around with him. Like we share different things. Like especially like he likes to play video games. I'll play video games with him, mess around and just like mess with him. My mom, I'm very goofy with my mom. Like I mess with my mom a lot. It's just like, but my mom's young as well. So me and my mom just have like like that's my best friend at the end of the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys have a great relationship, and you and Carlos challenge one another, and that doesn't hurt. I mean, moving forward is only going to help, especially in boxing. You have a brother, and I'm sure that really helped in the amateurs. Your experiences, being that you knew, hey, I want to get better, and you guys kind of push each other.
Yeah, and we both took like criticism. We both took like oh, you're doing this bad, you're doing this, work on this, and we just like we'll get better from each other, especially in sparring too, because we used to beat each other up in sparring. And we still do. We still beat each other up in sparring, but we learn so many things, especially like at the age he is now. It's just like he's he's 16 years old. He's coming up, and he's just like he's still got so much to do. And it's like me. I'm just now getting to my career. I'm living the dream right now. That's literally what I'm living the dream.
That's awesome, man. And I know you were very emotional after your pro debut, and I commend you. And you got the dub. And moving forward, what are some of your short-term and long-term goals as a professional boxer?
Short term is definitely fight a lot more, get a lot more fights by the end of 2021, and long term is dominate my whole division, especially at 115, 118, and 122. I want to get known.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, not just 115, but like all the other weight. Like I want them to know that I'm coming for them, for everybody.
So you got bantamweight, featherweight, and really some great fighters. We know them. I'm looking here in the top 10 in the world right now at 118 pounds in the bantamweight division. You have the monster, Inao. You have Rigondeaux. You have Casamayor. Nonito Donaire, who's still around, another great fighter. Jason Maloney, who just lost to Inao. Emmanuel Rodriguez, another Puerto Rican fighter. So really some great fighters that, in the bantamweight division is starting to get a little bit more love.
Yeah. Starting to get more known. It's like because it's intense. Like that's all of them can take each other out one way or another.
A lot of pop.
Yeah, they all have power, and it's like I would love to like fight with those legends and just get known from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause they don't know how I am. They don't know who I am, and like I see them. So
Right.
like I watch their fights and
You learn.
Exactly. So it's just like I'm learning. I'm studying from them. I'm studying the way of not just being a pro boxer, but also being a good fighter all around. And that's
You have an open mindset. That's awesome, brother. That really is. It shows you're humble and you want to learn and get better. So why not watch other fighters? And I think a lot of times guys get stuck in this mindset. I don't need to watch that guy. I ain't worried about that guy. Well, you get in the ring, it's a whole different animal, right? And you could study.
Yeah.
It could be a different animal in the ring. But at least you come in prepared. You have a game plan. And that reminds me of Canelo Alvarez. I think he has like 60 game plans. Every fight I've watched, the adjustments mid-fight.
Especially with like his last fight. Like he fought a tall guy, but he was like thinking, should I be smart? Should I like keep my distance? You know what? I'm gonna press him and see how he reacts. Guy was backing up the whole time and just dominated the fight. It was just like it threw me off because I'm seeing this guy from his other fights and he's beating everybody up, and then he's scared of Canelo because it's just like it's also intimidation, but how his game plan is like it can just really reset a fighter easily.
Yeah, it's truly impressive, and he just continues to get better, and the game plans, and it's very impressive. Like I said, I don't know how else to sum it up.
Yeah, especially his training, especially the fight after he got beat by Mayweather, you can already see like so much skill. He got bigger, he got stronger, he got faster. His head movement was like it's good. Like his defense is just like perfect, like almost perfect basically. And it's because like all the sparring he has had, all the training from his coach is like his coach stepped up. Like he's like his coach was basically thinking like I don't want you to lose or get embarrassed like that ever again.
And you made a great point there, and it reminds me of when Cotto lost to Pacquiao.
Yeah.
If someone destroys you like that or exposes you,
Mm-hmm.
go to the source of it. And that's what he did. And it reminds me of what you said earlier in regards to if you were losing to Xander, you said, you know what? That's going to make me better. I learned from this.
Yeah.
And it's going to help you in your career moving forward. But just backtracking, yeah, when Cotto lost to Pacquiao, that was devastating.
Yeah.
But he went to the source, and he went and trained under Roach.
Yeah.
Ironically, right? You go to the source of what exposed you, and that was awesome. So great example there with Canelo, when he did lose to Mayweather, you could see the adjustments were made.
Yeah.
It's truly impressive. So, Josh, as we wrap up today, share with me who is Joshua Lebron outside of boxing, outside of the ring.
Joshua Lebron outside of boxing is still Joshua Lebron in the ring. It's just Joshua Lebron is like when he's in the ring, he's a monster. It's more like you could see that anger that's been holding up is let out while he's fighting. And Joshua outside the ring is, he's still goofy, he's still humble, he still trains at the end of the day. Like, I still do the same thing I was doing since I was like 10 years old. It's just train hard and get stuff done. It's just I'm here to stay. I'm not here to, be some fighter and just I'm not here to be some fighter that just fights once and then forgotten. Nah, I'm here to stay. I'm here to get known.
That's awesome, man. You're very passionate. You can tell us what you love to do. Inside and outside of the ring as we learn about you. So if you're not boxing, what are you doing in your free time?
You already know I'm playing video games. I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm having a good time. Like that. You have to have that, man. You gotta have not just always training. You also gotta have a rest day. You also gotta have like time just for yourself. And that's how I've been. That's my daily routine. Is just what I do. It's like I'll take like some days might have to take off and just play a video game or two and just have fun.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Get away a little bit. That's great. So, Joshua, as we wrap up, like I said, moving forward, you have a fight coming up in February.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? In Orlando, Florida?
Yes, sir. Undisputed.
Okay.
In the Caribbean Royale.
Awesome. Beautiful facility, by the way.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. Look forward to that. You're going for your second pro fight.
Yes, sir.
Now, Joshua, we've been through some tough times here with COVID-19. We're in 2021 now. What is your message to those out there during these tough times?
Make sure everybody stays safe and just stay together. Like the family, if you're with your family, stay together and just make sure you guys are all safe. Wear your mask. You know what I'm saying? It's just you're just gonna have to enjoy the time instead of just being stressed about it. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not gonna last forever. We're just gonna have to let it just pass. Like and just keep on just not like family stay together. But also work through this out. You know what I'm saying? This is just it's not going to be, it's life-threatening, but at the end of the day, like, it's going to pass. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to stay with us forever.
Definitely. Joshua Lebron, professional boxer by way of Orlando, Florida. Thank you for joining me on the Sunday Sit Down series.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bro.